All right, so you want to make it big on TikTok Shop, huh?
Well, you've come to the right place.
Today, we're going to deep dive into how to buy and sell on TikTok Shop safely. No surprises, no scams, just smooth sailing, all based on this awesome SocialWick podcast episode we found.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how many people just jump into TikTok Shop without, knowing the rules.
Totally. It's like you wouldn't drive a car without knowing the traffic laws.
Exactly.
Okay, so first up, returns. SocialWick mentioned this standard 7 to 15-day return window for buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty typical for e-commerce, but why that time frame?
Well, it's all about finding that sweet spot, right? Like those 7 to 15 days give the buyer enough time to actually receive the product.
Right.
Check it out, make sure it's what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But it also gives the sellers a reasonable time frame to, manage their inventory and process those returns without getting overwhelmed.
So it's kind of a balancing act.
Yeah, it protects both sides.
But there's a catch, right? You can't just,
Uh-huh.
return anything in any condition.
Oh, absolutely not. The product has got to be unused in the original packaging with all the tags still attached.
So, no wearing that new dress to a party and then being like, oops, didn't fit.
Exactly. Think of it like borrowing a book from the library.
Okay, yeah.
You want to return it in the same condition you got it.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about, those situations where the product shows up damaged or it's not as described?
That's when things get a little bit more complicated. That would probably fall under a different return category, like a defective item return.
Gotcha.
And in those cases, the seller might be responsible for return shipping costs or even offering a replacement.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all return policy?
No, not at all.
Uh,
And that's where clear communication from the seller is super important.
mhm.
Like those detailed product descriptions and accurate images, those can really help manage buyer expectations and reduce the likelihood of returns happening in the first place.
So sellers, pro tip, be super clear up front and maybe even add a little disclaimer about, different return situations.
For sure.
Okay, so listeners, if you're buying on TikTok Shop, what's the #1 rule about returns?
Always, and I mean always, double check the seller's specific return policy.
Okay.
It's on their TikTok Shop page. Some sellers might have additional terms or conditions that go beyond the standard TikTok Shop policy.
So it's like read the fine print, even though nobody actually does.
Yeah, pretty much. I got to know what you're agreeing to.
Okay, so that makes sense. But what happens if the seller's policy is, unclear or contradicts TikTok's rules? Who wins then?
That's where TikTok steps in as the mediator.
Interesting.
Think of them as like the referee, making sure both the buyer and seller are playing by the rules.
Right.
They'll review the situation, look at both sides, and then decide what the right course of action is.
Okay, so TikTok is trying to make it a fair game for everyone.
Absolutely.
Now, let's say I, suddenly change my mind about something I order. Can I cancel the order before it ships?
You absolutely can, but you got to be quick.
Okay.
Once that seller's processed and shipped the item, that cancellation window, it's closed.
Oh, no. Okay, so walk me through it. Let's say I ordered something, but then realized, wait, I don't need that. What do I do?
Easy. Just go to the My Orders section in your TikTok app and hit that cancel button.
Okay.
But you got to do it before the seller ships it out.
Before they ship it out. Gotcha. Okay. Wouldn't it be a nightmare for sellers, though, if people were canceling all the time?
It definitely can be. That's why for sellers, efficient order processing is so important.
Right.
The faster they process and ship, the less likely they are to get those cancellation requests.
Makes sense.
So it's a win-win when sellers are on top of things.
Okay. And buyers, just a friendly reminder, double check your order before you hit that confirm button.
Absolutely. Be mindful, be proactive.
Okay. Ready to dive into the wonderful world of refunds?
Hit me with it.
Refunds can be a little confusing. So, let's break it down TikTok Shop style.
Okay, so let's say you return an item. The seller approves the return. TikTok, being the mediator, right? They will then process the refund. But how would you explain this whole process to someone who's brand new to TikTok Shop?
Okay. Imagine you're explaining this to your grandma,
Okay, yeah.
who's just discovered the internet.
Right.
You'd probably say something like, Grandma, when you return something on TikTok Shop, the app is like the middleman. Make sure everybody plays fair. Once the seller says, okay, the return's good, then TikTok gives you your money back.
Perfect.
Easy peasy.
It's like having a trusted friend handle the money so everything's legit.
I like that. So what about the timeline? How long does it actually take to get your money back? It's not instant, right?
No, it takes a little bit.
But TikTok's working behind the scenes.
Yeah, they're making sure everything's on the up and up.
Usually takes a few business days
Right.
for the funds to actually show up back in your account.
Once that seller's got the item back,
Yeah.
given the okay. So it's super important to keep that proof of shipping.
Yeah.
When you send something back,
Good point.
it's like your insurance.
Yeah, just in case something goes wrong.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk to the sellers for a minute. What about refunds from their side?
The most important thing is to be responsive.
Okay.
TikToks, like watching how you handle these things. And if you're slow or not helpful,
Uh-oh.
it can actually hurt your seller rating.
So it's not just about, being a good business.
Right.
You also got to play by TikTok's rules.
Absolutely.
Don't want to get a bad reputation, do we?
Nope, no. Respond to those requests quickly and professionally, of course.
Okay, so we've covered returns, cancellations, and refunds. Before we move on, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest thing is communication is key. And proactive action. Like whether you're buying or selling, if you understand how it all works, read the fine print and don't wait around. You could avoid a lot of stress and have a really smooth experience. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, listeners, grab a pen and paper. It's time to level up your TikTok shop game.
We're about to share some tips and tricks to help you navigate the platform like a pro.
Stay tuned. All right, so we've talked policies, we've talked tips and tricks, but now it's time to go like pro level, strategic thinking. This is how we really win at TikTok Shop.
Right. It's almost like TikTok Shop is its own little world now.
It really is.
And the people who really get it, they're the ones who are going to do the best.
For sure. So let's talk about the buyers first. What's the difference between like a regular shopper and a strategic shopper on TikTok Shop?
Okay, so imagine this. Two people are shopping.
Okay.
One person, they see something on sale and they're like, boom, I'll take it.
Impulse buy.
Exactly. But the other person, they're taking their time, comparing prices, looking for deals. They're trying to find those like hidden gems.
Okay.
Those are our strategic shoppers. They're the ones who end up getting the most value for their money.
So it's like being a treasure hunter or something. It's exactly. Always on the hunt for the best deals.
I like that. What about like talking to the sellers? Is that part of it too?
Oh, absolutely. Strategic buyers, they aren't afraid to like ask questions, get some clarification, maybe even build a relationship with the seller.
Okay.
You never know what you might find out. Like maybe they'll give you some personalized recommendations, special deals,
That's cool.
just by talking to them.
So it's like having your own little personal shopper.
Yeah, kind of.
That's awesome. Okay, so now let's talk about the sellers. How can they be more strategic on TikTok Shop and like really stand out?
Well, first things first, they got to understand their target audience.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It's like if you're a tailor making a suit, you need to know the person's measurements, right? What kind of style they like, that kind of thing.
So it fits perfectly?
Exactly. Once you know who you're selling to, then you can make your products, your content, even your marketing. You can tailor all of that to really connect with them.
So you're saying make the products irresistible to the people you want to buy them.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do they actually do that on TikTok? Like how can they use the app to connect with people in a way that feels like genuine?
Okay, well, TikTok has all those cool features, right? Like live shopping.
Right.
So you can show off your products in real time, answer questions, create a little buzz, and then there's like video content. That's where you can tell a story, show off your brand's personality, grab people's attention.
Get creative.
Exactly. And don't forget about influencers. They can help you reach a whole new audience.
So many options.
It's really like a playground for creative people.
And since TikTok Shop is still pretty new, there's so much room to grow.
Right. This is the time to experiment, try new things. Don't be afraid to make a few mistakes along the way.
So what's like the most important thing you want our listeners to take away from this whole conversation about TikTok Shop?
Don't be afraid of change. TikTok Shop is constantly changing. So to be successful, you got to be willing to change with it. Stay curious, stay up to date, and never stop trying new things.
Love that. So listeners, remember, knowledge is power, strategy is key, and TikTok Shop, it's waiting for you to conquer it.
Absolutely.
That's it for today's deep dive. Until next time, happy shopping and selling.